a retired homicide detective. I've interviewed thousands of people, from serial killers to ministers. Welcome to the interview room. Welcome to the interview room, everybody. On this special Thursday evening, to be honest with you, there's just so much going on in this case. I just felt it was important to weigh in here for a couple of minutes tonight. I want to thank everybody for being here at this obviously unexpected time on a Thursday. We're still going to broadcast on Sunday, but there's just so much going on in the Suzanne Morphew case. Obviously, that's been going on for quite some time now, but what I wanted to do is go over a couple of things that I've recently, been kind of connecting some of the dots, and I've been just poring over this arrest affidavit. I'm going to go over some of those things and looking at the autopsy reports, looking at the old photographs. I talked to Suzanne's family. And of course, over the weekend, there was this, memorial for her where my understanding it was approximately, 50 or 60 people there. Barry snuck into the back. Not sure if anybody else outside of the girls. I know his mom was there and other folks, but nobody from Suzanne's family was invited. And it was an invitation only. There were a couple of girlfriends that were invited, the pastor there, and one other person spoke. And of course, this was news all over the country and all over the world for that matter. And of course, there's two train of thoughts. One, Barry sneaks in because he wants to maintain a low profile. And of course, it's your wife's service. So you might as well sneak into the back, park so nobody sees you, coming in to honor your wife. And that got me thinking about, the totality of the evidence here. And one of the things I want to talk about tonight is the DNA. And the DNA on the bike, the DNA on the car. And I really want to break down some of the defense information or lawyer information. I'm not even going to call it defense right now because, he's not been, he's not been rearrested or anything like that. So the presumption of innocence still sits there. However, he was arrested for her murder. And so, with that in mind, from my experience, that puts him at a very strong, person of interest for the authorities. I think each and every one of us understands that piece of the puzzle here. He's been on world news just about every media market in the in the country, in the United States anyway, as well as in the around the world, has picked up the story, and it has a lot of moving parts. But quite frankly, it's really not that complicated in terms of from an investigative analysis point. And I also want to thank all of our teachers, our nurses. This is your week. Thank you. I see Barbara just put that up, so I'm going to put it up here. Thank you so much, as well as Law Enforcement Week is coming up. We're grateful for each and every one of you who serve your communities, our veterans, and then, of course, our mods. I don't know about you guys, but I believe I have the best mods. And I always want to acknowledge them and honor them. Miss Maui Girl, Mimi J2, and Teresa M. We miss Miss Sophia. And so thank you, each and every one of you mods who always here for us at the last moment. And I also want to thank all of our subscribers. We are really close to 200,000, and that's because of you and because of our mods and our Patreon members. We are very, very, very grateful to each and every one of you. We can't do this without you, and we're so grateful for everything. So there's been a lot of talk over the years, since Suzanne went missing in 2020, about, when the defense picked up the case at the first arrest, there was this idea of, DNA on a bicycle, on her bicycle, and on her car, or in her car near her glove box. Okay. Well, I have a theory tonight that I think hopefully the prosecution will run with if they haven't already flushed this one out. For me, the biggest problem, if we take a look at the affidavit and we take a look at the information that was presented, whenever you get DNA involved in a case, there's always this, there's this pre-assumption of some sort that, okay, that's got to be the guy. Okay. However, I think we also have to measure very carefully about the location and the type of exposure, i.e., who had access to the bicycle and to her car. And one of the most disturbing things that I found that kind of leaned me and continues to lean me towards staging, and I'm not saying staging of the DNA, but staging of the totality of the circumstances, the bicycle, the helmet, the 5 trash runs. I mean, how many of us do, take our trash out to 5 separate locations, in Denver when you live in Soleil? If that's not a huge red flag, I don't know what is. And then, you capture that individual on video making these dumpster runs, and it's obvious that there's, something's not right here in River City. It's just not lining up, for lack of a better term. Right. And then we have the syringe cap. We have the dart. We have the emissions, where he actually, the individual admits to utilizing all of those items. We have history where there was a deer farm owned, and he used to, take those antlers and sell them. He would, shoot the animal with tranquilizer, knock it down, and then harvest those antlers. And so this individual became very proficient in doing that. In fact, he admits it on many, many pages within the arrest affidavit. So I want to go over tonight a couple of really obvious things. And then I want to talk about how the defense is going to attack it. Like I've said from the beginning on the Koberger case, that they're going to attack the DNA. They're going to attack the witness, eyewitness, and discredit her. And then, of course, you know, they're going to attack the cops and the investigation. Okay. Well, this is an interesting situation because now you have, you know, at least 60 people that attended a memorial on behalf of Suzanne. I don't see them showing up for Barry, but it was an invitation only, so they may have shown up for him. But I think what I want to talk about tonight are some pretty glaring and obvious things. And so I've got the video here of the very first officer that was on the scene that night. You guys may or may not have seen this in the past, but I'm going to play it here. It's Deputy Brown. And before I play it though, I'm going to share the affidavit. So I'm going to put this up here again. I'm going to read this because I think it's very important. Whenever you have a case like this, you have to go back to what the facts are. And in this case, the facts aren't really muddy at all. In fact, it's very clear how the officers laid this affidavit out, and they did it in 6 sections, and they, you know, categorized each of the section. But this one is basically, you know, when they get the phone call, you know, at 5:58 p.m., he's notified by a neighbor. And so the officer's responding to the area. And so here's what is in the affidavit. Deputy Brown attempted to contact Barry at 6:05 p.m. without success. So he gets a call at 5:58. Okay. And he's notifying people, okay, about let's get hold of Barry. But he's attempted at 6:05 without success. Then again at 7:10 when he spoke with Barry. So it took him almost an hour and 5 minutes to get the husband on the phone. He stated the last time he saw his wife was at the residence 5 a.m., the morning of May 10th, 2020, when he got up to leave for Denver for a landscaping job. Suzanne was still sleeping and Barry did not speak with her. So there's no conversation. Barry advised Deputy Brown that Suzanne had recently gained an interest in mountain biking and began mountain biking on a regular daily basis. This is important because on this video, you're going to see a witness talk about what route she used to take, and the route where her bicycle was found, he felt it was highly unlikely that she would have taken that route because it was headed towards an extremely difficult incline where you have to get off the bike. Okay. Where you have to get off the bike. And so Barry advised that when Suzanne would bike, she would wear a turquoise in color bicycle helmet and a windbreaker jacket. No other description was given for the windbreaker jacket. He described that Suzanne also had an iPhone, which she would take with her when biking. Barry added that Suzanne was going through cancer treatments, and he provided Deputy Brown with her phone number when Deputy Brown requested it. Deputy Brown and CCSO Sergeant Layman Moulinex drove to the Morphew residence and turned onto the country road 225 from US Highway 50 at about 7:31. So they start looking. They drove slowly, looking along the steep incline along the shoulder of CR Country Road 225 for the bicycle. As Deputy Brown turned the corner, he saw a blue mountain bike down near the ravine, close to the bottom of the hill, with the front tire pointed downwards towards the creek. Karen said my screen is blurry. Is this blurry? Can you guys see me okay? Let me check my camera. It's blurry again, Karen says. Better. Okay, I don't know what's going on with my camera, but hopefully we'll get that fixed. Going in and out. All right, hang on for a minute. Let me check that. All right, how's this, guys? Thank you, Karen. All right. So let me pick this back up here real fast. And so he was, they drove slowly along the steep incline of CR 225 for the bicycle. As Deputy Brown turned the corner, he saw a blue mountain bike down near the ravine close to the bottom of the hill with the front tire pointing towards the creek. Sergeant Mullinex, accompanied by Deputy Brown, to investigate the blue Santa Cruz mountain bike. Now, when I was in Soleil, when this thing was really hot and heavy, when it was going down, I know there was a mountain bike store there, and I went in there to talk to the individuals because there was information that this bike found was not Suzanne's bike. But it was never confirmed from me. In fact, they did not want to talk to me about it. But I had heard, after speaking with some of the individuals that knew Suzanne and saw the bike, that it was their impression that this was not the same bike. I was not able to confirm it, but it was, information that was provided at the moment. And so they saw no indications of a crash. As Deputy Brown noted, the vegetation around the bike was not flattened in the area where a human body would have landed. There is no blood around the bike, nor was there any apparent damage to the bike. Due to the steepness of the incline, the bike should have had damage if an accident had occurred. So almost immediately, at 7:31 p.m., the authorities had doubts of whether or not this was a bicycle accident. When Deputy Brown moved the bike up to the path, he noticed that the front brake pad was seized and the handlebars were turned completely to the left, causing the brake cables to wrap around the bike frame. Deputy Brown and Sergeant Mullinex examined the dirt shoulder of CR 225 immediately above where the bike was recovered and, quote, did not observe any braking marks, skid marks from a bicycle. So almost immediately, they're thinking DLR does not look right. The math is not adding here. Deputy Brown examined the front rim of the bike tire, and he observed no damage to the rim or spokes, which he expected to see if the brake had locked and the weight of a rider would have been going head first over the edge. So automatically, they are in this suspicious mode. Something is wrong. So what I want to do is play real fast. I'm going to stop this real fast, and I'm going to play the recovery of this bicycle and why this recovery, in my opinion, is going to play into a problem with the DNA in terms of identity. And that means strangers, anybody. Okay. Because what we're going to see here is very obvious cross contamination. Rule number one, and now in this case, obviously, they were looking for Suzanne. They find the bike. But, as you know, I support everybody. But at the same time, I'm also a straight shooter. And I will tell you, if I felt from an investigative position, if it was a mistake. And I think the way they handled this bicycle was a mistake. And I'm going to point out why I'm saying that. And I don't think it was intentional at all. But I do believe it was a mistake. And here's why I believe that. Hang on.
Maybe see if you can get that up to the road and then check the serial number or call the husband and see what kind of bike she has.
Okay, so immediately they want to take the bike up to the top of the road, look for a serial number, and try to get a notification to the husband asking what kind of bike she has. Okay? So that's not a problem there yet. That's not a problem. Okay? However, moving it is a problem. Trying to get the serial number, trying to notify the husband, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what they should have done was leave the bicycle in this position, photograph it, and not touch it in any way, shape, or form. Okay.
Somebody check you, buddy. Can you try to call the husband and see what type of bike she has? Right now I'm staring at a Santa Cruz blue and color.
All right. Here's the problem. When we talk about the defense already screaming unknown DNA on the bicycle, the handlebars, etc., look where, what are you guys seeing in this particular picture here? What's happening, right? I'll wait to see it coming up. Yeah, exactly. Look, no gloves. Okay. All right. We're all seeing the same thing then. All right. Now, of course, there's going to be other DNA on those handlebars. But I think a jury is reasonable enough to know that law enforcement made a mistake. Officer Brown, I'm sure, Deputy Brown, will be asked this question over and over again. What is the proper procedure? Should you have had gloves, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Now, he did not know at this point, when recovering this bicycle, that this was going to turn out to be a world event. His intent and sincerity, I believe, at this point, is to try to help find Suzanne. However, the turn of events, and this is why I always say, like tearing down the house in the Koberger case, it's never the way you think it is. And you get too confident, and things can get very bad. Okay, right there, he grabs the handle, and this is where the DNA swabs were taken. You see him grabbing the handlebars there? This is cross-contamination. Now, the question from a law enforcement perspective is, who did he pat down before he got this call? Did he have contact with an individual who had a criminal record? And did he cross-contaminate, potentially touch DNA? In any way, shape, or form, we don't know this, but it would be important to break down who that officer contacted that evening. Because at this point, if he had, let's say, patted down somebody for evidence, or had touched skin to skin or anything like that, those human cells could be on his hands, and he could transfer that onto those handlebars. So I don't get too excited when we talk about, well, there's other male DNA on the bicycle, other male DNA in the car. And we're going to talk about the car here in a couple minutes as well. Okay. But everybody can clearly see, and if you were the jury, I would show this to you immediately and own the mistake. Own it. Especially in a homicide trial this high profile. You own the mistake. You tell the jury, you know what? We made a mistake. Here it is. And 90% of jurors go, okay, they're admitting it. And you're right. It was a situation where the totality of the circumstances were not known yet. Okay? Not known yet. This is a great question, Babs. Let me pull it up here. Where did it go? Did the same officer possibly pop her glove box? That is a great question. And we're gonna have to dig into the reports for that to come up with that answer. So let's remember that collectively, everybody. That is an absolutely great question. Because we know right now what's taking place. We're witnessing it. Okay. So they're going to pull this bike up. And by the way, it gets worse. When I say worse, not that this is intentional, but when the husband shows up and the friend, the bicycle's over by this officer's car, and guess who's touching it? So that's going to be a question for the jury as well. Did he cross-contaminate it with somebody else's DNA? And there's going to be video evidence of that. I'm going to show you tonight that is a possibility as well. So the question for me, and hopefully for you guys, and any thoughts you guys may have, did this officer pat down somebody, and that's the unknown male, that he may have transferred it to the bicycle? And if he did touch the truck or the car, is this the same problem? I don't have enough information on that yet, but is it possible? And the answer is always yes, it is possible. That's a lot of handling.
Yeah, because the rim's not going to... I'm just looking at the rim. Not bad.
Okay, now the supervisor should have just shut this thing down. It's a sergeant next to him. That's another mistake. He'll be asked about that on the stand, what proper procedure was. Okay. But this is already in motion. It's too late. It's too late. This is cross-contaminated evidence. It would have been great to get somebody else's information on this bicycle, but there's a high probability that individual wore a glove or gloves. But at the same time, wouldn't it have been nice to get some type of indication of whether those gloves touched that bicycle, the same glove, a single glove that was found in the gravesite where Suzanne was discovered? But we'll never know that at this point. You can bet they're tearing the inside of that glove, inside out, and they're testing it for DNA, etc.
I guess maybe be careful where you're talking to, just stay on there, and not to touch it too much in case like yeah. Something's up with this front tire stuff. Said something's up with this front tire.
Yeah, the brakes are jammed up here, and that's the problem here. Because I want to go back over here now again to the affidavit real fast, and we'll come back to the video. But Deputy Brown examined the front rim of the bike tire, and he observed no damage to the rim or spokes, which he expect to see if the brakes had locked and the weight from a rider would have been going headfirst over the edge. Deputy Brown wrote, after all these observations, I started to question if something criminal had occurred, as it looked like the bike was purposely thrown in this location. So almost immediately, they felt that something does not look right in this situation right away, almost immediately. Hang on just for a second. I've got to answer a question. Sorry. Okay. So let's go back to the video. Now, it's obvious this officer's DNA is going to be all over this bicycle.
Are you?
Okay, so what we used to do and what we do in situations like that is you get that officer's DNA with a buccal swab, because at that point you're going to have to submit it along with any other immediately to the crime lab. And then they're going to be able to identify it, which is, in this case, that's what ends up happening. So I want to go back now to the same officer, okay, and I want to go back to the sharing of the, the affidavit. And here, that same deputy who now has formed an opinion of, hey, there may be something wrong here. This isn't lining up. It's not lining up. Okay. So Deputy Brown writes, After all the observations, I'm going to read this one more time. I started to question if something criminal had occurred, as it looked like the bike was purposely thrown in that location. So he has a paradigm shift. Okay. So he makes contact with the boyfriend, which turns out to be Macy. And this is, redacted at that point. And his sister arrived at the residence and assisted with searching the immediate area. Finding no signs of forced entry at the entry door or other points of entry into the residence, Deputy Brown walked through the Morphew residence with somebody present. Deputy Brown observed that the residence was well kept and orderly, with the exception of one guest room, later identified as Macy's room, and blank room. The bed was stripped of the bedding. Deputy Brown observed in the master bedroom what appeared to be one .22 caliber round of ammunition unfired on the floor next to the bed. He then looked under the bed to inquire where the said round may have come from and observed what appeared to be a rifle storage case. In the main floor foyer area of the storage closet, Deputy Brown observed what appeared to be a reddish-brown substance that was smeared midway on the side of the closet wall. That is police talk for possible blood. Because you don't know it's blood until it's tested by a lab. So this is called creative writing 101 in an affidavit, where, they describe it as reddish brown substance. And with more experience, as a law enforcement officer, as a homicide guy, you would say reddish brown substance, that was smeared midway on the side of the closet wall. It is possibly blood. Until further testing, we won't know for sure, period. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. This same deputy, and to your question earlier, I think it was Babs who I put up. The same deputy in the kitchen area, Deputy Brown observed a laptop computer and documents scattered near the laptop computer. Now, why is that significant? Because Barry threw stuff away in the hotel, i.e. his mail. Okay. We have this bullet on the floor. There's a bullet in the gravesite. And we have documents now scattered all around the computer in the kitchen. And there's documents found in the Holiday Inn. Yes, that's where you get really smarter if you stay there or go there. But here's the really interesting part. In the 3-car garage area, Deputy Brown, the same guy, discovered 2 white SUV vehicles, later identified as Suzanne's personal vehicle and so-and-so's personal vehicle. At the time of Suzanne's disappearance, and blank were on a road trip traveling out of Colorado in blank vehicle. Therefore, blank vehicle was parked in the garage. So to that question earlier, is it possible that this deputy went into that vehicle and popped the glove box without gloves? We don't know yet, but we do know that in this car garage, the same deputy discovered that vehicle. So is it possible? We're going to have to wait to when that deputy testifies. Because now that opens the door of cross-contamination and an explanation as to how that DNA could have gotten there. Because if at any time that officer was at the station, and if any time anybody in any way, shape, or form, if he touches the walls or anything like that, or these other names, and by the way, that individual's never been it's never been confirmed that he is the guy. It's a relative of that guy. So it's kind of a one-off to a one-off to a one-off. However, you want to make sure that you can cross the T's and dot the I's. And so this officer may actually end up being a great witness because he may have an explanation, or at least you push it onto the defense to prove that he didn't cross-contaminate that DNA. And here's one of the other problems with that DNA, in my opinion. Let's run with the sex offender registered RSL idea. If we think about this guy, because 99% of them are going to be men in terms of this kind of problem. Let's presuppose Suzanne's on her bike and this guy somehow gets hold of Bam and somehow incapacitates her. Well, first of all, we got to get his DNA in the car. Okay. So if the defense argues, well, the suspect was in the car and he shot her. Okay. Well, the problem with that is he parked the car back in the garage. So either A, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, or B, the car's not in play. But what's interesting in that car is all of Suzanne's personal items, like her credit cards, her driver's license, all of that is disheveled inside of the vehicle. And that's problematic, which is consistent with circumstantial evidence that is, he's throwing papers and stuff like that around. And is this a staging activity where the items are thrown into the vehicle, into her car? That has to be a question that's going to be presented to the jury at some point. Okay. And if we think about that, why in the world would Suzanne leave her identity in her vehicle? And so now we also get into the car wash theory. Somebody was at the car wash, they cleaned it, yada, yada. And that's where the DNA comes from. But either way, I don't think that DNA is a threat in any way, shape, or form to the prosecution. That's just my opinion. Because you're going to be able to potentially explain it. And you can bet if they have identified that guy, they have lifted him up and, shaken him by his heels to where all the marbles fell out of his pocket. They want to know this guy's shoe size. And of course, they're going to figure out where he was and how he got there. And this is important to understand because this affidavit was written before all that DNA evidence in totality had come back. So I don't think the car thing it's a nothing burger. It's an absolute nothing burger. Because now that the gravesite has been discovered and items of evidence have been recovered there, they have a lot more items that could be, checked for DNA. Now, here's a question. Could these items been thrown into the grave with Suzanne as kind of red herrings? And I would submit to you, and well, what do you guys think? I think, yeah, it's possible that this stuff could have been thrown in there as red herring, i.e. the mask, etc. However, she was found with one of her favorite sweatshirts. It was in the grave. And that's the picture that everybody has seen with her and her mother-in-law cooking, having breakfast. And she's in that sweatshirt with Crest Butte on it. Okay. But now here's another situation that we're not seeing in the autopsy report and or any other place. So in all of those photographs where we look at Suzanne and we see very clearly that she's wearing her wedding ring. Now, I think anybody, and I talked to Karen about this at length. I said, what's your opinion as a woman? I mean, what is Suzanne going through? I mean, she's going through all of this. She's getting a divorce. She wants out of this thing. He's got a girlfriend. She's got a boyfriend. It's obviously, it's obvious that this whole relationship situation is collapsing. Okay. It's just collapsing. But she's in these pictures wearing her wedding ring. So this has shades of a la Dale Warner. Remember when Dale was confronted by Dee's daughters and son-in-law and sons? He said that she walked in and left the wedding ring on his desk and that he just inadvertently picked it up. I think this wedding ring is a key piece of evidence that may or may not, I don't have enough information on it. Maybe somebody else does. Maybe you guys know. But one of the most interesting things I want to point out that's problematic for me, you know what's missing from her body? We have no evidence in this autopsy report in the bones that have been recovered of her hands, her feet, and her pelvis. I am really concerned about that. Why in the world are those bones missing? The mandible was there for her because that's how they did the odontologist, and they identified her through her teeth. Her skull was there, and typically in animal activity, they remove the mandible. I mean, I've had cases there that, the jawbone has been found, hundreds and hundreds of yards away. But there is no evidence in this autopsy report. So that means potentially or possibly there's a secondary burial site somewhere. And so let's consider that. And that area where she was buried was known to the community around there as what they call the boneyard. And so if we look at the picture, again, going back to Suzanne and her mother-in-law cooking in the kitchen where she's wearing the sweatshirt. Let me see if I can find it real fast. Sorry. Hopefully I can find it real fast. Yep. Here it is right here. Hang on. I'm going to pull it up. You see that one? That was her favorite sweatshirt. And get rid of all this. Notice here is her wedding ring. Even though there's, problems with what's going on over here, between family, she is still wearing that wedding ring. And which has always bothered me, that when I first read the autopsy report, that was the first thing that jumped out at me, was the fact that those bones are not mentioned. Now, is it possible there could be additional recovery that we're not aware of? Yeah, but probably not at this point. So I think either an animal drug those off, which is always a possibility, but highly unlikely in this particular situation, because there was a mixture of animal and human bone. But her pelvic bone and her hands and feet are missing. That's disturbing.
Okay, so I'm the daughter's boyfriend.
Okay.
And I'm here.
Is this your truck?
That's my truck.
Somebody should be having them run. I got some here. So you haven't seen the mom at all, have you?
Yep, so the two daughters are gone right now at the moment. The dad is in Denver for a job, and they text her because of Mother's Day, and they haven't heard. The text never went through, like it never delivered since this morning. And she's a big mountain biker. She normally takes her car, and her bike's normally in the back of that. It's gone.
Was this open when you came here?
The neighbor was here that opened it, and then she shut it, and she went back to her house. Her house is right over there.
Okay.
And then I came back and I opened it to come in the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you looked in the house for
I
her?
have, yep.
All right. You looked through everything?
Yes.
You haven't found her?
No.
Okay. All right. What time did you get here?
6 o'clock, and then I went all the way up Frusis, because she's road up there. And I just drove the main road, couldn't find her, and then there's a couple spots that I could check, like trails and stuff. But I wanted to come back here to just, check back in and stuff.
Okay. Has she ever gone up 225?
The Colorado Trail right there?
The big hill once you come off the highway?
Well, she hasn't, and I haven't checked there yet because that climb at the beginning is really hard.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be out of characteristic for her to do that, but...
So you hear this young man who obviously cares very much about Suzanne. This is the boyfriend of one of the daughters. And at this point, he is saying, it would have been out of character for her because of a steep incline. And you'll hear other people say that later on here initially. Now, mind you, this is the day she's reported missing. So this information is what the officer is listening to. And this is Officer Brown again. This young man is telling him, hey, I got a call from my girlfriend, i.e. Macy. I came over to check on Suzanne, and this is what I found. And then the officer inquires, hey, tell me about her habit, i.e. a victimology. Tell me about, when she usually rides this bike and what's your impression of her? And this young man tells him. He has no reason to lie. He has no dog in the fight at this point.
I mean, someone needs to go there, I think.
Why would you say this, on camera?
Well, because it's kind of a crazy...
Okay.
It's kind of a crazy climb to get up there.
All
it's
right.
not really rideable. You got to push your bike before you can start riding.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you have a driver's license on you?
It's in my truck. And here's my dad pulling up.
That's your dad?
That's my dad right there.
Okay. S211.
Good.
All right, so this is one of the daughter's boyfriend. And he's saying it'd be out of ordinary for her to travel up that way where we found the bike.
Wait, where did they find her bike?
The bike's leaning up against the sheriff's vehicle.
Yeah.
Do we know what she was wearing in reference to the jacket?
Do you know what she usually wears when she goes riding?
She has a couple different sets of clothing in terms of what she wears riding, so I'm not sure exactly what she put on today.
Okay, what are some of the outfits she wears?
Blue shorts, like
Okay.
turquoise blue shorts.
Can you pull her
She
up
has
on
a-
Instagram in
Yeah,
one of her mountain
she has a
biking
blue
pictures?
helmet, which she always wears.
Okay.
A like turquoise blue helmet.
You guys have her bike though,
Yeah, we do.
but not her.
Not her.
Okay.
Okay, did you guys hear that? You guys have his bike, you have her bike there. And he goes, but not hers. And the officer said, not hers. So I've had that question. Is that really her bike? And which will go into, the category of staging even further, right? It's just additional circumstantial evidence that it's not hers. But let me back that up again, and you guys tell me if you're hearing what I think I'm hearing here. Because he asked him, you have her bike.
Instagram in
Yeah,
one of her mountain
she has a
biking
blue
pictures?
helmet, which she always wears.
Okay.
A like turquoise blue helmet.
You guys have her bike though,
Yeah, we do.
but not her.
Not her.
Okay.
Okay, not
Where'd
her.
you find her bike?
Off of that road.
So I heard that wrong. It's, do you have her bike then, but not her? Okay, and he goes, not her. So he's not talking about the bike. My mistake.
That I was asking you about.
Oh,
why you said it was
in
uncharacteristic.
Chavano.
Just right out here on the road.
Right out there. Okay.
Right where you found.
Where that road?
So that's where the photograph came from of what Suzanne was wearing. That the young lady, which is who is his sister, she is showing Suzanne in the blue helmet and the blue bicycle information.
Takes off up the.
That's her
She wear any jackets?
She probably would have had,
What kind of jackets does she wear?
a windbreaker.
A windbreaker?
I don't know what color.
I saw her,
I mean, we don't even know what time she left today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but they have cameras.
They have cameras, but they've been out of commission for a while.
Hey, 11, can you
Okay.
get a list of the trails
So her
that
bike
she
was close to the
went?
road.
That way, if we get search and rescue out here, they can focus on those.
Yeah, I'm working on that right now.
Let's get that.
What were some of the other trails you said? She rides up Booses and
Yep, she rides up Fusis. Normally when she takes her car, she goes down to what's that road called? That's right down at the pit. Goes up to North Fork Lake.
okay, what about around here? Since she didn't take her car, she clearly
Okay,
left from
so
here.
she would have gone up Fusis, I assume, or to the
Go
Colorado
across,
Trail.
you go straight across the
There's
highway.
that
The
trail?
Colorado Trail's
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
So you can go up that ridge there,
Yeah.
and that gets on the Colorado.
Okay, so we're hearing a really good victimology here on the initial impressions presented to the law enforcement. So he's telling her habit patterns, right? I mean, the young man is telling the officer habit patterns about Suzanne to the point where he says, typically she'll put the bike in the car and then take the car up that, to that area. So this is really important to understand because this gives us a little understanding of Suzanne and how she would do her daily routine in her bike. And this officer here talking to this young man and his father and his little sister is gaining great information immediately about how Suzanne operated. And so immediately there are no red flags here on this young man. And so I think it's important to recognize this. He's a very credible witness and he's giving credible information that law enforcement is now going to build on. And they're going to be moving towards the direction of what this young man is saying. But listen to this part.
And did you just let him know about it? Do you live in the area?
No, he dates
Right.
Yeah,
So he called you and let you
Well,
know?
we were talking to their daughters on a road trip. We were talking to them down in town.
Okay.
And then I said, yeah, why don't you run up there and see if you can't find her.
Yeah.
And so then once he'd been gone a while, I drove up here.
I know this is a weird question, but do Barry and Suzanne get along pretty well?
You can answer, honestly.
You know,
Okay, so that's really interesting because the young man hesitates, he pauses, and the father, good dad, turns to him and says, you need to tell him what's up. So I'm going to play that back and let it play through for a second. But this is a very honest response.
And so then once he'd been gone a while, I drove up here.
I know this is a weird question, but do Barry and Suzanne get along pretty well?
You can answer, honestly.
you know, I think they've had some problems.
Okay.
Yeah, in the past.
Like, just normal.
Normal husband and wife type deal. I would
They
say.
like talk about separating or anything
They
like
have, yeah.
that? Okay.
I would, yeah.
And you know this through.
Through,
Macy.
yeah, I'm very
Macy.
close with.
Okay, so that tells us a bunch. One, the daughters know that mom and dad are separating, or at least been talking about it for quite some time. Enough to where she confided in her boyfriend, and he confided in his father. And his father told him, look, just tell it the way it is. So this is another red flag, goes into the domestic violence category potential. And so there are all kinds of flags being raised here. What do you guys think? What do you guys think on that one? And while you're doing that, I'm going to answer this. Chris, how far away did they search from the gravesite itself? I'm sure they did a grid search, not just sure how far out they went. It was a 3-day search, Thomas, so I don't know the totality of how far they went, but I would estimate probably 100 to 200 yards, if not further. Okay. So everybody in the circle here knows, including the daughters, that mom and dad are, having problems because the boyfriend knows. And so this again puts it into the category of, hey, wait a minute, we have to pay a little bit closer to not leaving home. Because remember, you take the victim continuum and you go environment, situation, circumstance on the left, low, medium, and high on the right. And then you have to ask yourself, okay, where does she fit on this scale? If she was on a bike ride, she would be in the medium to high range. And that means there is a possibility of a stranger involvement. If she's on the far left side in the low range, because the environment, situation, circumstance, then that means within her circle of influence, she was potentially targeted by somebody within her geographic region, i.e. somebody that crossed her path at some point, husband, friend, etc. But somebody that had intimate knowledge about the victim. And as a result of that, you now have to stay on that side. And in this situation, Suzanne would have been a low risk scenario because these officers are thinking, okay, hang on, did this bike ride even occur? And as a result of that, if the answer is we're not sure, then you have to err on the side of low risk. And you've got to go from there forward. And that's probably what this officer is thinking. I notice he is wearing gloves while riding this, but we don't know when this officer put those gloves on. We definitely know the officer we saw pictures of lifting that bicycle that he did not have gloves on. So they may have had a talk about this as things got more and more suspicious.
Yeah, it's important that you, at this
I know,
point,
I know,
you
I
tell
know.
him anything that
Yeah.
you know, like that.
Yeah, and he is in Denver for a work job. They've had some problems.
See, the father knows there's something up here of this young man because he tells him, listen to the father's verbiage, and what a great dad. Number one, he came to check on his son because his son wasn't checking in. after he told them to go check up on the house. And the father said, you know what? Fatherly instinct, motherly instinct, I better go up there and check. Make sure he's okay. But listen to the father's verbiage to his son.
Yeah, in the past.
Like, just normal
husband and wife type deal.
Oh, they like talk about separating or anything
they
like
have,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
I would, yeah.
And you know this through
Macy. Yeah, I'm very
Macy.
close with her.
Yeah, it's important that you, at this
I know,
point,
I
you
know,
tell
I
them
know.
anything that
Yeah.
you know.
Did you hear that? It's important that you tell him everything that you know. What that means is there's more. There's a lot more. And so this young man was probably brought into the station, and there was a pretty extensive heart-to-heart discussion.
Like that.
Yeah, and he is in Denver for a work job. He's a landscaper, and he's got a big job in Denver. So that's where he is at right now.
Okay.
And Macy and the older sister Mallory are on a road trip. Where are they?
Okay, this is Barry arriving. And this is his hunting buddy, George Davis, he's a cheerleader that night for Barry. And Barry gets out. You're going to see it here in a second. You'll remember this. And he's going to start interjecting ideas into the conversation. It's going to be pretty interesting to watch this again. I watched it earlier today, and I thought, man, this is awesome. There's the bro hug. Hey man.
Where is it? Where's the bike?
Oh, it's right there.
Where was it?
It was like just right down here in this little embankment right here. So I took this dude. We got the husband on scene here with me.
It's gonna be okay. I'm here with my daughter. She's at Harry's
Oh,
house.
okay. All right, yeah, you can go down
Was it
there.
a crash?
I mean, the bike looked, the way it was laid, it kind of looked like it, but there's not really that much damage to the bike. That's the thing.
Lion?
Yeah, it was just like lying.
I love this part. Lion? Was it crashed? Is it a mountain lion? Any lions get out of the zoo? I'm surprised you didn't ask that question. Any of that? And everybody's like, they're all listening. Is it a lion? Yeah, it's like, Cheryl, you got lion, L-I-O-N or L-Y-I-N-G. Good, Cheryl. That's a good one.
No lion? Mountain lion?
I didn't see anything that would indicate.
This is great. Look at his hand movements, up in the air, like, what do you, is it a crash? Is it a lion?
And they're not letting us go over the side.
Because we're getting attracted.
Dogs. We're bringing dogs.
Where'd you find the bike right
Just
here?
right down in here,
Do you know
yeah.
where my husband and son are?
They
They're
probably went down to Puma.
Yeah,
down to the
so-
house. We're in my house.
okay.
Now, a long time ago, we had an animal expert on, and he said that idea was just preposterous. I mean, the poor lion got thrown under the bus for a homicide almost. You got to think about that. But that was, from a hunter, I guess that made sense to him.
And Bear, I know this is tough right now. Do you mind if I just get a driver's license for our report stuff? Search and rescue's on their way. Hey, Bear, and then I'll probably need your help to kind of tell me some of the trails that she frequents so we can backtrack some of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm sorry.
Oh, man. And she's an avid mountain biker, right?
She's just started. She's been
And just a confirmation, you left this morning at 5.
She was sound asleep.
Okay. And she told you she...
Now, what's interesting here is the officer presents an alibi. and by saying, so you left this morning at 5. He should have just said, he should have presented the question in terms of, so what time did you leave this morning? But instead, he fed him a time frame.
You gonna go bike riding?
She bikes every day, yeah.
Okay.
She's gonna bike when she gets up.
So she was asleep in the bed when you left. Did you say bye to her or anything?
No, she's sound asleep.
Okay.
Always leave her.
So the last time you probably actually saw her was this morning. That was it, right?
Yeah, I've been in dirt, so I got a big job.
See, the officer is the one who's presenting what time did you last see her? And when you did see her, so this is, again, another mistake. It's a rookie mistake, but it is a mistake because he's feeding a narrative to this, the husband, and that in of itself, he feeds off of that. You always have to remember what they call bridging statements. And, young officers don't learn this idea of not presenting what potentially could be factual in nature or a lie. And so you want to create bridging statements or not allow the suspect to create bridging statements. Because what they'll do, and Don Wells in the Summer Wells case is a great example of this, where he builds on that bridge. He gets on that bridge and he goes, oh, yeah, yellow? Yeah, it's yellow. And in this case, 5? Yeah, every day I get up at 5. Okay. And so what he's doing is he's locking himself in, i.e. the husband's locking himself in, but with the help of the officer. He should have just free-flowed the question, what time was the last time you saw your wife? Because we don't know if he would have said 7, 6, 4, 3. At this point, he is given a closed question, and Barry took it.
I've been there all day working. I'm sorry, you need to calm down.
No, it's all good, man. We're doing the best. We got
Did
a
they
lot of
check
people
the house?
coming.
Did they,
Yeah.
they
we got-
looked through the house?
Yeah, they got the house. So what we're doing is we're keeping people out of the house because if the dog comes, they want to get a scent from out of the house.
Yeah.
So they don't want to pollute that scent. So that way we can start trying. And I walked up this. Like I said, I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Nothing looked like.
I wonder if she was hurt, if she could climb up the hill.
But that's the thing. When we came here, still was daylight, right? So if she was right here, somebody would have easily, you know what I mean? Just because it was like literally like right down. It was this. I mean, if we saw it coming in, somebody would have definitely seen it too, you know?
Well, the bike's still there. Everybody see that? Okay, that's okay, but it's still there. But it's still there. And so we need to be conscientious of that. Okay, while he's doing that, I want to go back over real fast to the affidavit again, and I want to talk about the Puma Path residence where they started to search it. And on the 11th, pursuant to an authorized search warrant obtained by your affiant, while assisting with the search of the exterior of the residence, your affiant located what appeared to be suspect blood on the apron of the garage near the east side of the 3-car garage. All right. Now, this is the officer saying, look, I think this is blood. Additionally, it was noted by your affiant and other investigators that there was a Bobcat skid steer parked in a parking area driveway west of the Morphew residence. Next to the skid steer south was a flatbed trailer. The trailer was in a tilt position. The trailer bed had some loose gravel and dirt on it. The trailer did not have a jack on it, and the tongue of the trailer was lying on the ground. The skid steer was parked to the left side near the trailer tongue. The items were positioned such that the skid steer bucket appeared to have been used to unhitch the trailer from the vehicle, most likely Barry's truck, and set the trailer to the ground. Your affiant examined the skid steer and noticed that the cutting edge of the skid steer bucket had been recently replaced. So there was no wear on it. As it was noted, several large bolts and nuts were lying in the skid steer bucket on the front end of the trailer bed. So the next day, they examined his Bobcat, and they felt that the bucket had been replaced. That the bucket had been replaced. That's important to understand. On the 13th, search teams located what they believed to be a bicycle helmet, to be the bicycle helmet Suzanne would have been wearing. Investigators located a photo of Suzanne prior to this date, with Suzanne wearing the helmet, documenting it its teal color. The item was located at a GPS coordinates, yada, yada, approximately 10 meters south of Highway 50 and about 1.52 miles from the Morphew residence. Inside the helmet, law enforcement located a piece of paper in the top portion of the helmet with Suzanne's name, phone number, and address, as well as Barry and blank phone numbers. This item was collected by law enforcement and placed into evidence. So now let's go back real fast to the DNA RSO theory. So the suspect somehow gets her off of this bicycle, somehow has to control her in some type of vehicle, and he turns to the left of the residence to throw away the helmet, and then somehow makes a U-turn and goes south of the residence 50 miles to dispose her body. Any lions, for sale on this one? But this is interesting. Search teams were searching areas of the proximity of Suzanne's bicycle and helmet, as well as law enforcement driving roads in that area attempting to locate Suzanne. During this effort, law enforcement located what they believed to be fresh tire impressions and a piece of cloth. That's really important, and why in the autopsy report, pieces of the garment were kept by the sheriff's department, because they have a piece of cloth. And you know what they can do with that piece of cloth sometimes? If in fact, it's a rag or it's a, piece of clothing or anything to that effect, I've seen them match it microscopically, match it to where it was torn or ripped. And if that piece of cloth in any way, shape, or form, and we don't know this yet, is in that gravesite, another piece of that piece, we're getting closer. But here's another problem. That piece of cloth had a reddish brown unknown substance on it. That's police talk for possibly blood. Also located in the area of the piece of cloth, tire impressions were located, and they were casted. As of this present date, these items appear to be unrelated to Suzanne's disappearance. Now that is until they found the grave. That's why he put in here, as of this present date. So they're looking for items like this, like the cloth. This is why it's important for the defense to put a letter out into the environment before anybody else, saying they won't even tell us if they recovered her clothing. They're not telling us, i.e., the defense attorney writing the letter on behalf of Barry. This, and it's the same idea of, yeah, you see the cup of coffee in the morning? That proves, i.e., in the letter, we all know, and I read it in the last presentation, that proves Suzanne had her cup of coffee that morning. Therefore, my guy could be nowhere around. Well, the reason, why would they want to know so badly about what type of clothing was recovered? Why is that so important when she went on a bike ride, allegedly, and she would have been wearing all of her bike clothing? But the young man said she typically, has two types of clothing. And it's interesting that Barry took him into the house and he pointed out part of her bicycle clothing. I wonder what kind of clothing is inside that grave. And this is the Range Rover, the part where I was telling you guys about, when they went into the Range Rover. Regarding Suzanne's white Range Rover on May 19th, there were personal items to include Suzanne's driver's license and credit cards throughout the vehicle. Why in the world would Suzanne Morphew throw her driver's license and credit cards all over the vehicle? That makes no sense. Items from the interior were pulled out by sections of areas and photographically documented on butcher paper. Some of the items collected included a woman's jacket and knit cap in the rear, pairs of sunglasses, pairs, multiple, and a key in the glove compartment and a camelback, and sunglasses in the front passenger seat, spa chemicals on the front passenger floorboard, and a Scott bike service receipt in the front driver's door. This is the bicycle place I was telling you about. I also heard he bought chemicals at a nearby place. And this is the receipt for those chemicals. This is the photograph from the young lady that we saw on her Instagram. They went to Instagram and they pulled these all off. But guess what? They're none of it. None of these. Okay, they show the different two pairs of sunglasses. Are these the two pair of sunglasses found in the vehicle just a moment ago? We don't know. Regarding the tranquilizer dart cap on May 19th, a plastic needle cover was located in the dryer drum. This is important to understand here as well. This was collected by CCSO along with additional items and swabs from different areas. The needle cover was recovered with sheets from Blank's bed inside the dryer. So I find that really interesting that there are other items, additional items, and swabs from within side of that dryer drum that we don't know about yet.
Howdy, Bill.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Do you want us to stage down at that residence or?
So hold
Whoops.
And I'll get right with you.
Okay, no worries.
Okay, so this is a problem here. See the bicycle right there? The search and rescue guy is asking him, hey, where do you want us to go? We just got here, but I want you to notice what's going to be happening in the background here.
Hey, Barry, besides, I know the bike was here, but what are some of the paths or like the trails? Like
Now, there's his bro. He hands his driver's license to this other dude because, you know, Barry can't take it himself because he's so distraught here. And of course, he's willing to help in any way, shape, or form.
She rides this road. She rides up to the top, and then she goes up to Flus's. If there's no snow, she'll go up high on Flus's. She's went down this one a couple of times.
Down this one here too?
Yeah.
Okay. So double check Flus's over there too, because I think was it Miles? I think Miles. Yeah, I know. We just want to double check everything. So yeah.
Did anybody look for foot tracks on the road?
I haven't seen anything really, but
Like people tracks? We're lying.
I didn't really notice, but I won't lie, I'm not like an expert tracker or something, you know. Yeah, so my partner is actually the one that saw it and picked it up, but it was like the top of it was weird because it feels like the top of the bike was like up this way.
So we just learned there it wasn't Officer Brown, that this is not Officer Brown's body camera. It's the other officer, so that's why this guy's wearing gloves.
So maybe flipped.
Maybe, I don't know, man.
But the problem is,
Go ahead.
what's the thing about 4 o'clock in the morning?
Okay, so now these are the investigators that are showing up. And the first question he asked, what's the thing about 4 o'clock in the morning?
Was that sitting
Last
on the
time
phone?
her phone.
5 o'clock. Oh yeah, so we pinged the phone and it said the last activity was at 4 in the morning.
Up here?
It's off of the Ponce Tower. So there's not any specific coordinate. Hey, could you not touch the bike with
There's the problem. Guess who's over touching the bicycle? Cross-contamination. And if I was the prosecution, I would argue, well, how do we know he didn't do that?
your hands, please?
Hey, guys!
Harry and George are down touching the bicycle. I don't know if anybody's caught that, but I'm pointing it out to you. He's down there touching his wife's bicycle, and the defense is saying, well, you know, there's other DNA on that bike from other people. Yeah, him. But you notice they didn't get DNA off of it because sometimes that happens. Yet, by golly, if it's a stranger in any way, shape, or form, okay, they're going to bring it up. But here he is, live and in color, film at 11, touching the bicycle.
4 in the morning.
Up here?
It's off of the Ponce Tower. So there's not any specific coordinate. Hey, could you not touch the bike with your hands, please?
Hey, guys!
That's the wrong thing.
Bike with your hands.
Because I've been wearing gloves. I've been trying not to. So.
And this guy's going, oh, crap. And the officer is saying, you know, essentially trying to, you know, level set with him going, yeah, and what's his name pulled it up with no gloves on earlier in their hands. And now look at her eyes are closed like, holy crap, what's going on here? And meanwhile, George and Barry are, you know, in the background over there touching the bicycle all day long. So unfortunately for the defense, that is not a win in their column. In fact, if you showed this to a jury, any jury would go, well, is it possible? And that's all the prosecution needed.
Put it in your, can you fit it in your car?
No, but I could try to. My car is, with the back is filled with tag gear and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, and the bike was found right there. See that little pink thing right in there? And you could see it on our initial body camera too when we found it, right over there, right there by like that tree. So I didn't seem a little distraught. The guy's kind of going back and like, why didn't they check the recruit? I'm like, you know, we're trying to do the best we can. And this guy, I guess his name's George Davis. He showed up on his own. I guess Barry. Hey Barry, are you guys? Where are you guys headed? Okay. Here soon. I'm gonna probably have you come and talk with us more. All right. Thanks, man.
Yes, sir. When we go inside, let's just go
directly to where.
Now, this is also, remember, this is where they took him in, but very limited control here.
Something that she's worn today, and let's not touch anything just for in case.
Okay. Is this unlocked?
They should have had
Yes.
gloves on him.
Which way would that be? This way? No.
Let me touch anything down there.
These are all hers right here.
Yeah.
Have you got a plastic bag?
I'm sorry. I mean, you've got a missing mother. You shut it all down. You don't say, hey, by the way, you know, can you get me an evidence bag or whatever it's going to be so we can collect this clothing for the dog? I'm not going to say any more on that one. It's so obvious for everybody. It's kind of scary, to be honest with you. But that said, thank you, Laura. Thank you, Angel. Welcome, Alexandra. Thank you. Been here so long. We sure appreciate and love you. Hi, Mississippi girl. It's great to see you. All right. I think we all get that one right. This is another wow. You know, as Heather says, another wow. Yeah. Well, this will be, you know, the defense. They'll have fun with it, but it doesn't mean it was intentional. And that's, I think a lot of this is training. And so you have to, you know, take that into consideration for how many times, you know, mothers like this disappear in this area. So, but it's a problem. There's no question about that. You guys know me. I'll tell it if it's good, and I'll tell you if it's bad. To me, this is bad. You don't tell the suspect, hey, go get a plastic bag for me. Okay. Yeah, I know, right? Money Paws. Do we have a hero dog? I don't know about that. Not yet. Anyway. Let's keep going.
Or a paper bag.
Or a paper bag.
I mean, it's direct
You want
contact.
paper. You don't want plastic. There's moisture. Well, what he's doing here is he's taking him back into the kitchen where the potential crime could have occurred. And he's allowing him to just do whatever he wants.
No, we should just be fine with one.
Now his back is still to Barry, so he doesn't know what Barry's doing behind him. Yeah, that's a great question. Let's go back here for a second. I see that Grace Water asked, where's the coffee? So I see a glass on the kitchen table, or excuse me, counter. I don't know if there's a coffee cup anywhere around the house. Right there, you see a bowl and you see a glass to the right on the video. Right there's a pretty good shot of it. And I don't know if that's a decorative bowl with some type of plant in it. It looks like that. Yeah, don't touch anything, get a bag. Exactly. That's a great comment. Don't touch anything, but get me a bag. That's a great comment. Yeah, it's painful to watch this piece, but, you know, this is what they have to deal with, and they're going to have to overcome it.
No, we should just be fine with one.
How do you turn on the exterior lights? Which light switch is it? All of them?
Okay, I want to see what's on the coffee table. Yeah, the evidence shows that she was taken down Saturday. So you're right. So this is post-incident evidence. And that's why the house is even more important, to shut it down quickly. And you didn't need the husband in there to point out where her clothes were. All you had to do was say, hey, would you mind waiting here? And would you give me permission to go in and find some of your wife's clothing so we can do an evidentiary search with a dog to give them a scent? Oh, yeah, no problem. Okay, I'll be right back. Wait here, sir. And you keep him outside. But here, he walks inside the house and, get me a bag, brings the plastic bag, and he's walking behind the officers, which is an officer safety problem. Because, you don't know what this guy's capable of at this point. No gloves on the bag. That's a great observation, too. Classy Les.
How do you turn on the exterior lights? Which light switch is it?
I want to see what's on the coffee tube. Okay, there's another cup there. Looks like a tumbler of sort.
All of them, Dale?
Maybe that's no. Okay, at this point, they should have just said, everybody out.
Thank you. Hey, Anthony. Can I speak to you over there once we get back?
What's he holding in his left hand? He's had this thing in his left hand the whole time. Is that his wallet?
Do you realize what you grabbed, right? Those shorts? Yeah. Those are for mountain biking. Yeah. Like the padded shorts you're wearing in the Yeah. So, that... I'm curious.
Yeah, I saw that. But they were bike shorts.
Yeah.
And, so I got them, she's biked everything for the house ready, what I mean? Yeah, I know what you're with.
Oh, sidetrack though, when you took your...
Okay, so right now, that's where I'm going to leave it today. I'm going to keep doing more of this because I just want this young lady to get justice. And I'm going to point out the pluses and the minuses. But right now, I think what we can collectively say, and you guys tell me what you're thinking, but we have no mention of pelvic bones and or hands and feet. We see every picture that Suzanne has, she's wearing her wedding ring. So my question is, where is that wedding ring, number one? Was it given to the girlfriend? Was it pawned? Was it given to the daughters? Where is it? And then where are, the bicycle clothing then? If she's wearing the Colorado, Crest Butte sweatshirt, which is her favorite shirt, and that's found inside the gravesite because that's what the autopsy report says. And if that's the case, then there may be a ton of evidence on that thing. And this is why they're taking so much, needed time to do much more lab work. The lab work in this thing, talking about the DNA in the car, the bicycle, etc. We saw the officer grab that bicycle. He did not have gloves on. That could be, now we can say that's a problem. But at the same time, we now have George Davis and Barry himself touching that bicycle clearly on video. So that's not going to be a strong point, in my opinion, for the defense to keep running on. In fact, they're going to run out of gas on that one, because the prosecution will be able to come back and say, well, let me show you a video of your guy touching the bicycle. And so then the question's always going to be, at least planted into the conversation, did he have the ability to cross-contaminate that bicycle with unknown male DNA? That's going to be the question. Okay. And so we talked about that, about, animals possibly. Okay. No question about that. But the challenge that I was thinking through that one, and it's a great point, little shelters, nest, etc. But her entire pelvic bone is missing. The entire pelvic bone, but her mandible is there. And typically animals right away take that mandible for that main purpose. I mean, I've had many cases where, the mandible's broken in half from, coyotes and etc. And animals, they pull those bones right away. But, if this is the case, if she's in the clothing, we don't know if she's dressed or if she's undressed, but if she was in her clothing, to get to that pelvic bone is much more difficult. And animals, take a little while to get through to that. And so is it possible? Absolutely. And that's a great point that you raised there, my friend. But I guess we're going to have to wait to see what that exactly means. But that said, I want to thank everybody, for being here this evening. And I hope you have an amazing Thursday evening with the rest of your family. And I will catch you on Sunday. Got another great show coming to you, on Sunday evening. And be safe. God bless you. And go get over to the witness box. Listen to our podcast. We're dropping episode 4 and 5 coming up here. So thank you guys so much. Have a blessed evening. Thank you. Aloha.
Hard working every day, I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts, wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah, make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away, you and me, go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease. No cares. You wanna come with me? Me and you go to our favorite tree. Are you ready now? We jump on a plane now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. Don't hesitate now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. We'll never come down. We're going away. Yeah, we're going away. You and me. Feeling the sun on my face in a while.